Ekoshēmas. Eiropas Savienības inovāciju lauksaimniecības politikā, kas
We also need to learn about eco schemes and eco scheme payments in 2023 and 2024 and the remaining trend. These initiatives help to maintain diversity, reduce climate change, improve fertility, improve sustainability and access to the green market. Because there are requirements that you need to meet to access the green market. And now let us welcome our Aigars Smelds from the Rural Support Service. Let us welcome him. Thank you for the best wishes. Hello. I'm very happy listening to everyone, and I see that you are very positive and forward-looking. Today I will speak about eco scheme payments in 2023 and 2024 and their trends. I think we can see the trend very well here. So, can you raise your hand if you asked for requested eco scheme payments in 2023 and who in 2024? More. And who hasn't asked for any? One. There is one hand raising. These trends are actually, the trends that we see here are actually very real. We have approximately 52,000 customers, approximately 2 ask only for bonus payments, 18,000 request small farmers support, and then we have approximately 33,000 who request other types of support, and approximately half of these 32,000 customers submit a request for one or the other eco scheme payment. Here you can see the changes in the number of beneficiaries. In total, I can say, or in general, I can say that these schemes are very popular. There are more applicants than we initially planned, and there are only some eco schemes where the demand is lower. So the first eco scheme for conventional farmers, you see that there is 4,000 increase. Echo 2 also increase. Echo 2.1, it's on application of dolomite and similar means. Maybe it's not so well understood. And I believe that also these 2 last years haven't been very favorable, and you need money, for example, for Lyme and similar measures. Echo 4 also increase. We already spoke a lot about the minimal cultivation, direct sowing. This is a particular eco scheme, as you see, 500 increase. Then precision technologies, last year 1995, this year 1,292. Echo 6, grasslands in animal farms also increase. Echo 7, organic farming. Last year almost 3,400. This year more than 3,500. We can see the trend both here and also in these numbers that farmers are starting to think green, either voluntarily or because of monetary reasons. But in any case, these schemes become more popular. So now about areas. The white columns are the planned amounts in strategic plans. For the first eco scheme, we had planned for 388,000, and then you can see the blue and yellow lines that represent the actual hectares requested in 2023 and 24. The same applies to Echo 2, Echo 2.1 for liming. So here we are lagging behind. Echo 4 2024, we planned 370,000, last year 468, and this year 534,000. Echo 5, only 219. This year, already 512,000 hectares. It's almost twice, more than twice the amount. Probably there were also someone, maybe not so much in 2024 and 2023, who said that this is so economically unfavorable. It was not done by us though. And Echo 6 is very close to the planned amount. It's quite difficult for the ministry to forecast what kind of method you will use for cultivation. In Echo 7, we have almost reached that target. Next, whether to apply or not to apply. What your farm needs to do or maybe not do. I think this is at your discretion. Probably not always the farms that receive most area payments are the best farms and vice versa. So you have to understand what is profitable for your farm. Whether the eco schemes help you get more money for your farm or not. If yes, then probably you need to do that, need to apply for them, and if not, then not. Also, an interesting piece of information. I started telling that half of farms apply for eco schemes and half does not apply. And the total eco payment on the average received €214 per hectare. And those who do not apply, it's around 150. So there is a huge difference. Also, when we look at various farms and their sizes and size classification, there are always, in all groups, there are farms who receive less than during the previous period. There are farms who receive approximately the same amount, and there are farms who receive much more. And this phenomenon can be observed in all size groups. And for eco schemes, they receive, if you apply for eco scheme, you can expect to receive 20 to 25% more money. But I think it needs to be linked with general planning in farms. I believe it was some time ago, I think in spring. I don't remember the actual mass media, but there was a good article on Zemgale cattle farm. And a farmer wrote that he's planning thoroughly, that the land is expensive, and that he wants to harvest 2 harvests per year, and so on. And that very clearly illustrated why he receives more money. But then there are also farms who do not apply for eco payments and do not plan to apply for eco payments. I think 2 years ago there was a large meeting in Slampe, and there were still people getting up and asking, why do you need soil tests? I think it just demonstrates the level of knowledge, because if someone claims that you don't need soil tests, then this person doesn't plan, and that's why we have this difference. So irrespective of the size, there are always farms who receive less and those who receive more. And that depends on how active you are and how actively you follow the latest developments. As to eco schemes, there are various rates, and it's quite difficult to understand because there is minimum planned and maximum rate. So you basically can be sure that you will receive the minimum rate, and if you want to calculate if that will be profitable for you, you always can use the minimum rate because that is guaranteed. There are also eco schemes where we managed to achieve the targets, and there were eco schemes where we didn't manage to achieve the targets. The reallocation mechanism is quite complicated. If there is little interest in some eco schemes, it is not possible to receive the maximum payment, and this maximum rate is reallocated. So the first eco scheme is most popular, as you saw, and it is paid by granting minimum rate, which is 30.1 euro per hectare for eligible areas. Echo 2, the situation is different. It depends on the crop groups. One group would have the same rate. For example, 105.7 euro for plants that produce nectar and plants that attract nitrogen. So in this group, we focus more on minimum to average rate. In Echo 2, one probably will be maximum rate. Also the so-called intermediate crops, they become ever more popular, so the actual volume exceeds the planned, so the amount will be 56. So that's a short illustration on what you can expect to receive. If you have applied for eco scheme, I can tell that for the first eco scheme we will make one lump sum payment, minimum rate, and for the other eco schemes we'll have two payments. In the first payment we'll pay the minimum rate, and when all eco schemes are administered and when we know how money should be reallocated, then we will pay some additional amount. To answer to the question whether to apply or not to apply, I believe currently the system is set up in a way that not applying would be quite stupid. You cannot lose anything. During previous planning periods there were some sanctions, but during this period the worst that can happen to you is you do not receive this money, and that's it. It will not affect other payments or whatever. This is to encourage you. I would like you to have the following mindset if you haven't applied. So if you are a conventional farm or partially organic farm, you grow various types of crops, let's say cereals, fiber crops, rape, and so on. I would like to invite you to tick this first eco scheme. There are two main requirements. I invite you to tick this part because there are just two requirements. You need to cover some winter coverage because a certain part of the area cannot be bare during winter. Let's say intermediate crops are very well suited for these purposes. And also diversification. Depending on the area, you need to grow a specific number of crops. And in general, farms meet this requirement, and the pro of this eco scheme is that if you don't meet something, you receive less money. It's not that this money is totally deducted from your payments. Echo 7 is very similar to Echo 1. It's just for organic farms. The main difference is that under this eco scheme all crops are covered, while under Eco Scheme 1 there is only a certain range. First requirement, diversification. I understand here that here we have large farms with 30 and more hectares, so you would need to have 4 crops, primary crop no less than 65, 2 main no more than 90, and 3 main no more than 99. And I think if you are smart, you can calculate quite well. Next, soil coverage. Latvia is divided in 3 parts. Nitrate sensitive area, basically Zemgale, and then Vidzeme and Latgale, and the remaining territory of Latvia. And there is also a specific share that needs to have this coverage. For example, in Zemgale, it could be 70%. If you have less, then you will have a prorated payment. Also, you need to meet the requirements for the permanent crops. There are also specific requirements like borders or cultivation of borders should be met. Also, it's under Echo 2, it's prohibited to use PPAs. And there are also additional requirements, and you really need to review your operations to see if you can be eligible. Next one, Echo 2.1, liming. Some farmers say that you cannot do without liming and that you need an adequate pH level. And if you don't have, then nothing will work. So this support maybe is not large. But if you have acidic soils and the soil cannot absorb nutrients, and agronomists maybe will correct me, but if the soil is too acidic, the plants cannot absorb nutrients. So maybe you can try liming and see how it works. So you need soil tests, you need to understand how acidic your soil is. Also, there should be calculations how much lime you need to achieve an optimum pH level. And this material should be accredited by the Plant Protection Service. I think almost all soils in Latvia that need liming would fit into this pH range. And also, once this process is completed, there is a requirement that one of the Echo 2 crops should be grown or legumes. And I think in Echo 2 there were quite many crops, and I think it can be done. Dosages, so you need to use as much as you have calculated, but if the dose is more than 6 tons per hectare, the dose should not exceed this level, because it wouldn't make any sense to add more lime. Echo 4. For this practice of minimum cultivation, I think almost all farms can afford that in Latvia, either they already do this, have this practice implemented or plan to do that, and those who don't do yet, probably that is a matter of conviction or habit. And as you see, various types of crops are supported. For this eco scheme, to qualify, you can use herbicides only twice, and to apply you really have to think whether 2 times will be enough for you. You can apply initially, and if you see that you need the 3rd spraying, then you can just revoke your application for this eco scheme. But of course, you need to decide yourselves whether to apply or not to apply. Also, here maybe it would be quite painful because we are asking for photos to confirm minimum cultivation. I know that you don't like it and that it is cumbersome, but maybe you should think about it like this. So, if for this one particular hectare under Echo 4 you can receive 10.50, so if the minimum size of a field is 5 hectares, then you can receive 50 euros per one picture. So if you received 50 euros for all your selfies, you would be rich. Or you can ask the tractor operator to make a photo. And I also don't believe that you'll never go to this field after sowing, you or your agronomist if you have a larger farm. I don't know if this is a valid argument, if you can really claim that it's very complicated to make a photo. I started telling about photos. For 90% of fields we requested photos, and thus I advise to make photos of all the fields. Echo 5. Direct liquid organic manure, liquid manure, digestate, distribution, and working into the soil. So you need a fertilizing plan. I don't believe that farms that have fertilizing machinery with GPS, that they don't have a fertilizer plan. Plant protection products, so you need appropriate machinery with appropriate accounting. If you use a second class plant protection products, you still have to account for how much you have bought and how much you have used, and this is what is required under this eco scheme. So this is nothing extraordinary. And what concerns precision distribution of organic and artificial fertilizers, there was also a requirement to make photos of your fields, at least I believe 10% of fields. But here there are opposing opinions, because there are some farms who are really monitoring the benefit of this distribution of various types of fertilizers. They compare the yields, they compare specific areas where the fertilizers were applied. But then there are also farms who have bought complex and advanced equipment, but they are not using all the features, not using the functionality fully. And that is a pity. And I believe if you have this sort of equipment, probably it's not so difficult to make photos. Echo 5, there are quite many requirements. They are quite lengthy, so I will not focus on them anymore. Echo 6. This eco scheme is for animal farms, and basically the payment is made for leaving your grasslands alone in peace for 2 years. Basically, you will not cultivate, you will not seed, you will not sow anything there. So, and if you have such grasslands, such pastures on your farms, then why not ask for the money, additional money? So I think that was briefly it from me, and you can contact me or you can ask someone else for details. But I think the main thing is to change your mindset.
Kāds no mūsu klausītājiem grib nevis vairāk, bet mazāk? Kāpēc Lietuvā ir 3 ekoschēmas un mums 7?
There's a question why we have 7 eco schemes and Lithuania has only 3 eco schemes. Why do we need so many? Your information about Lithuania is wrong. Lithuania has very many eco schemes, very fragmented and very detailed, and Lithuanian colleagues were not at all happy about their setup.